Hello, Mimi Kennedy again. I'm going to read from a statement by Khaled El Masri, a German citizen of Lebanese descent, who was a car salesman before he was detained in December 2003. The U.S. policy of extraordinary rendition has a human face, and it is mine. I was born in Kuwait and raised in Lebanon. In 1985, I fled to Germany in search of a better life. I became a citizen and started my own family. I have 5 children. On December 31st, 2003, I took a bus from Germany to Macedonia. When we arrived, Macedonian agents confiscated my passport and detained me for 23 days. I was not allowed to contact anyone. I was forced to record a video saying I had been treated well. I was handcuffed, blindfolded, and taken to a building where I was severely beaten. My clothes were sliced from my body with a knife or scissors, and my underwear was forcibly removed. I was thrown to the floor, my hands pulled behind me, a boot placed on my back. When my blindfold was removed, I saw men dressed in black wearing ski masks. I was put in a diaper, a belt with chains to my wrists and ankles, earmuffs, eye pads, a blindfold, and a hood. I was thrown into a plane, my legs and arms spread-eagled and secured to the floor. I felt 2 injections and became unconscious. I felt the plane take off, land, take off. When we landed again, I was beaten and left in a dirty and cold concrete cell with a bottle of putrid water. I was taken to an interrogation room where I saw men dressed in the same black clothing and ski masks as before. They stripped and photographed me and took blood and urine samples. I was returned to the cell. The following night, my interrogations began. They asked me if I knew why I had been detained. I did not. They told me I was now in a country with no laws, and did I understand what that meant? They asked me many times whether I knew the men who were responsible for the September 11th attacks, if I had traveled to Afghanistan, and if I had associated with certain people in Germany. I told the truth, that I had never been in Afghanistan and had never been involved in any extremism. I asked repeatedly to meet with a representative of the German government or a lawyer or to be brought before a court. My requests were ignored. In desperation, I began a hunger strike. After 27 days without food, I was taken to meet with 2 Americans, the prison director and another man referred to as the boss. I pleaded with them to release me or bring me before a court, but the prison director replied that he could not release me without permission from Washington. He also said he believed I should not be detained in the prison. After 37 days without food, I was dragged to the interrogation room where a feeding tube was forced through my nose into my stomach. I became extremely ill. I was taken to meet an American who said he had traveled from Washington and who promised I would soon be released. I was also visited by a German-speaking man who explained that I would be allowed to return home, but warned that I was never to mention what had happened because the Americans were determined to keep it a secret. Almost 5 months after I was kidnapped, I was again blindfolded, handcuffed, and chained to an airplane seat. I was told we would land in a country other than Germany, but that I would eventually get to Germany. After we landed, I was driven into the mountains. My captors removed my handcuffs and blindfolded told me to walk down a dark, deserted path and not look back. I was afraid I would be shot in the back. I turned a bend and encountered 3 men who asked why I was illegally in Albania. They took me to the airport where I bought a ticket home. My wallet had been returned to me. I had long hair, a beard, and I had lost 60 pounds. My wife and children had gone to Lebanon, believing I had abandoned them. We are now together again in Germany. I still don't know why this happened to me. I have been told that the American Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice, confirmed in a meeting with the German Chancellor that my case was a mistake, and that American officials later denied that she said this. No one from the American government has ever contacted me or offered me any explanation or apology for the pain they caused me.
Andy Worthington again. I'll be reading the transcript of one particular day from the interrogation log of detainee 063. This 83-page document logs the minute-by-minute 7-week interrogation of Mohammed Al-Qahtani, which took place from November 2002 to January 2003 at Camp X-Ray at Guantanamo. 13th of December 2002, 1 minute past midnight. Upon entering the booth, Lead played the call to prayer with a special alarm clock. Detainee was told, "This is no longer the call to prayer. You're not allowed to pray. This is the call to interrogation, so pay attention." Both Lead and Control participated in a pride and ego down approach. Control told detainee, "Osama bin Laden has made a whore of Islam. Since you follow Osama bin Laden, you also rape Islam." Control put a sign on detainee that had the Arabic word for coward written on it. Explained how the words liar, stupid, weak, and failure applied to detainee. Detainee showed very little emotion during the initial portion of the session, except for the occasional smug smile that was met with immediate taunts and ridicule from the interrogators. 1:20. Lead ordered detainee to go to bathroom and walk for 20 minutes. Refused water. Corpsman checked his vital signs and stated he was fine. On occasion, when the detainee began to drift off into sleep, Lead dripped a couple of drops of water on detainee's head to keep him awake. Detainee jerked violently in his chair each time. 2:40. After a bathroom and walking break and detainee's refusal of water, the interrogators continued the aforementioned approaches. Detainee showed little response during this session. Detainee became increasingly tired and incoherent. 3:20. Detainee received walking and bathroom break, refused water. He then slept for 1 hour, followed by 1 hour in his chair, listening to white noise. 5:30. Control showed detainee the banana rats and stated that they live better than he does. Lead asked detainee, "What do you think is going to happen to you?" What would a judge do if he saw all the information that links you to Al-Qaeda? Detainee stated, "I'm not associated with Al-Qaeda." After that statement, Control read all circumstantial evidence collected against detainee. Detainee attempted to hide his emotions, but was clearly frightened when asked if the judge had enough evidence to convict him. 700 hours. Detainee walked, refused water, and allowed to begin 4-hour rest period. 1100 hours. Detainee awakened and offered coffee, refused. 11:15. Detainee taken to bathroom and walked 10 minutes, offered water, refused. Interrogators began telling detainee how ungrateful and grumpy he was. In order to escalate the detainee's emotions, a latex glove was inflated and labelled the sissy slap glove. This glove was touched to the detainee's face periodically after explaining the terminology to him. The team began dance instruction with the detainee. The detainee became agitated and began shouting and addressed Lead as the oldest Christian here and wanted to know why Lead allowed the detainee to be treated this way. 1300 hours. Detainee taken to bathroom and walked 10 minutes. 13:20. Detainee offered food and water, refused. Detainee was unresponsive for remainder of session. 14:30. Detainee taken to bathroom and walked 10 minutes. 1500. Detainee offered water, refused. 15:10. Corpsman changed bandages on ankles, checked vitals. Okay. 15:30. Detainee taken to bathroom and walked 10 minutes. 1600. Corpsman checks vitals and starts IV. Detainee given 3 bags of IV. 17:45. Detainee taken to bathroom and walked 10 minutes. 1800. Detainee was unresponsive. 1833. Detainee was allowed to sleep. 1925. The detainee was awakened by interrogation team. He was offered food and water but refused. 1945, the interrogation team and detainee watched the video Operation Enduring Freedom. 2120, detainee was sent to the latrine, offered water, but he refused. 2200 hours, detainee exercised for good health and circulation. Medical representative took detainee's vital signs and removed the IV housing unit from the detainee's arm. The detainee's pulse rate was low, 38, and his blood pressure was high, 144/90. Detainee complained of having a boil on his left leg, just below his knee. The medical representative looked at the leg and phoned the doctor. The doctor instructed the corpsman to recheck the detainee's vitals in 1 hour. 2300, detainee refused water and food. He was taken to the latrine and exercised in order to assist in improving the detainee's vital signs. 2345, the medical representative rechecked the detainee's vital signs. The detainee's blood pressure had improved, but it was still high, 138/80, and his pulse rate had improved, but it remained low, 42. The corpsman called the doctor to provide an update, and the doctor said operations could continue since there had been no significant change. It was noted that historically the detainee's pulse sometimes drops into the 40s in the evenings.
I experienced sadness in a state that I never have. Cruelty in a depth that I've never seen in my life. But you will not leave a similar person anymore. You will leave as broken, physically broken, psychologically broken wretches. You wouldn't even dream of it or feel it unless you really subjected to it. I could tell you, just imagine yourself sleeping under light, glaring light for 6 years. What would that do to you? You could imagine it, but you will not really feel how breaking it is to the mind unless you live underneath that kind of system. When you have a hole like that and then you have an AC which is in full blow of air, cold air coming out, and you're living inside a fridge. You're locked up. I used to remember, I worked in Burger King's when I was a student for studies and stuff. I used to remember walking into Burger King's fridge to get stuff out. It was like that. And they had a system after system. It was continuous. It was like you never had rest in the town for 6 years. They do water where you suffocate. They put lots of water until you scream. They spray you with something that makes you really burn everywhere, your face, everything. And they'd be laughing. Sometimes they'd pass and hit you with the electric gun if they wanted. Sometimes, and they laugh about that. We were never legally accused of anything. We were subjected to all sorts of barbarian kind of treatment, humiliation, disgrace, torture, and so on. And we were released without any charges, without anything, no apologies, nothing. That doesn't mean that I held grudge against every American. No, I want the people themselves, humans in America, the good people which I met many of, to realize how in their names those ugly people have done to others.